settings real quick. Well, I went to a convention, so it's time for a con report. I went to Kumoricon this year as my go-to regular annual anime convention. This year, one of the big guests was Kikuo Noe. I'm probably mispronouncing her last name. I apologize. She's probably one of those voice actors who I describe as names to know in Japanese voice acting. Like her and Miyashibara Megumi, for example, where like she did Belle Dandy, she did and is currently doing Kasumi Tendo in Ranma 1/2. She was Lust in Full Metal Alchemist. She was Electra in Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water. Like numerous high-profile anime titles over the course of her career. She's not quite one of those actors like the Japanese voice actress who does Goku, where she does like one role for the majority of her career, but she's spectacularly known for that role. No, this is like she's done tons of roles with a wide body of work. There's certain archetypes that she falls into regularly, but she's got a very prolific range over the course of her career. And so she was one of the guests at Kumoricon this year. I got to make it to one of her panels. Did not get to the autograph signing. We'll get to that in a bit. General convention notes organization for this year. We have our Kumoricon this year moved much more of its stuff into the convention center. A lot more convention floor space this year than in years previously. Last year, for example, we had the viewing rooms split up between the AMV room and the Gunpla Lounge and all of that over in the hotel across the street, while we also had a lot of the main panel space plus the manga library and the game room over in the convention, in the actual Oregon Convention Center. This year, changed things up a bit. By all the viewing room, like basically everything was in the Oregon Convention Center, which is good, like particularly because while we were Halloween weekend, we had rain this weekend for basically 2 of the 3 days of the con. And so it meant that once you got into the convention center, you didn't have to leave if you didn't want to. Like you could leave to go back to your hotel or have more affordable meals at one of the restaurants in the area, more affordable or just healthier meals at one of the restaurants in the area. But like everything con related was generally in the convention center. There were some shifts with this though, like when we had it split between the hotel and the OCC, Oregon Convention Center. We had like 3 viewing rooms going at any given time. So you'd have like different tracks, you could, depending on what you felt in the mood of. There might be a rom-com on at one time, might be a more action series or a sports show or something. You'd have options to pick from the various viewing rooms. So you could have whatever you felt like you were in the mood for. Whereas this year, just one viewing room, just the one programming track, which meant that if the show that was on was something that you didn't like, or something that didn't fit what you were in the mood for, like, oh, I'm overwhelmed at the moment, and I need a spot to sit down, and you go in and it's a very manic comedy series, for example, that's not going to help you much. And like they still had the manga library, they still have the AFK away from con room, but it's still like, okay, if the viewing room was closer to like the main panel track area, so you had to go more out of your way to get to those other rooms. It's like a good 3 to 5 minute walk, depending on your pace, possibly longer. And that certainly could have made things a little more frustrating. If you're looking, okay, I got an hour, 45 minutes to my next panel. I don't want to go wandering around the dealer's room. It didn't quite work out there. I didn't bring that up during Ransom Rave. I did go this year just because Like, everyone had about a minute. It was a moderately crowded room. I figured someone else was going to bring it up, but I didn't have a lot of time to hang out. I did have something else to bring up. But anyway, moving on. The screensaver on the TV screen off to my side shifted to a more ominous tone just in time for me to discuss my main cause for frustration, and that was regarded to the autograph signings for our Japanese guest of honor. She had 2 slots, one on Saturday and one on Sunday, and each for about like a couple hours, like hour or so. And the convention rules are, as per order of the fire marshal, he who shall not be crossed, or they, I don't know, I work for this, I don't know the gender of the relevant fire marshal. Well, we're fire marshals. Anyway, they who shall not be crossed, that no lines shall be formed more than 30 minutes before the start of any event. Laid out clearly in opening ceremonies. It's in the guidebook and pretty clear, made clear for everyone to see. Don't line up for anything more than a half hour in advance if you can help it. In fact, probably later would be better. Just don't line up more than a half hour in advance. Now, for the first signing, I showed up 15 minutes before the signing. That was me asking for it. I should have known better. So, okay, I'll go to the next one on Sunday. Second one, I arrived technically actually a minute early. Otherwise, like half hour on the dot. The line was already filled up by people who were showing up an hour beforehand. I'm like, look, I understand if you're doing this as a first come, first serve thing, what's going to end up happening as an inevitability is you're going to have people kind of slowly congregating towards the area as the time approaches, and then suddenly, as the time strikes half an hour beforehand, the line shall form up immediately. But in the meantime, it's congesting the area. I get that. That kind of actually happened a little bit for the signing for, I need to pull up the person's name real quick. For the Kana Ueda autograph signing at a Kumoricon a couple years ago. So, like, I get it. Okay. So, I get that, but but they did, but even then, like, they did some stuff to kind of try and mitigate that there. They did ticketed slots. So you had to sign up for a slot. It was still first come, first serve. I think they did do a little bit of overbooking. But they had an idea, of ways to try and manage the line to make sure people who want an autograph can have a chance to get in. Without having to key part here, violate fire marshal rules. That didn't feel like it happened here, so I did end up going to Rant and Rave and suggesting, hey, what y'all need is a ticketed lottery. I don't know how you would do this, like the exact nuts and bolts for doing this. Certainly with the plan for next year, we don't have a big name Japanese guest showing up. We'll be doing free autographs and that sort of thing. So I get it. So, like, we have some time to figure this out. But we need to figure this out. Again, a ticketed lottery felt like the right way to do this. In terms of, okay, you pick a spot, you sign up. There's so many slots available on the line. You kind of hash that out in advance. Like, okay, get people lined up. And maybe prioritize some people who have ADA requirements and that sort of thing. Okay, like if you've gotten an ADA pass or that sort of thing. Or maybe even have like, hey, we're going to have a smaller, like shorter session for VIP people at a particular time in private, but otherwise, for the public signing, like, okay, you sign up for, you pick a slot, and then if some people sign up, they do random draws, and so many number of people who win their slots are notified. This Kumoricon, they did use a outside ticketing app for stuff like the Maid Cafe and signing up to that. So there is an opportunity to do something similar like that for picking your who gets to get something signed, and it's just random draw, and then just like let's go through the app, determine who gets in. They get notification through the app, and hey, congratulations, you won. Show up at this time. And present the phone to the person, and they'll scan your barcode that you show that you've checked in and that sort of thing. And if not enough people show up at that time, or too few people, or like if there's open spots, then they will have things set up or something like, okay, everyone else who signed up is waitlisted. We'll like do a couple more random draws and like, all right, ping these people, let them know, hey, show up. You still got this hour window. Get over here. Kind of thing. And that would work. But that's something to figure out with not necessarily next year, but like year after or what have you. Otherwise, convention generally went very well. I did overbook myself in terms of scheduling and that sort of thing, not in the sense of two things at the same time, but in the sense of like not really giving myself a big enough window for like panels or like lunch. Oftentimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to just sacrifice going to this panel rather and get lunch instead. But it did make for a little bit of an annoyance. Otherwise, I had a good time. Picked up some good stuff from Artist Alley. Artist Alley / Dealer Room was definitely leaning here much more on the Artist Alley side. There were still plenty of vendors who were selling figures or prop replica swords or gunplay kits or that sort of thing. But I did feel like, well, with this, there was much more of a balance towards the Artist Alley side of things. Kumoricon in general has less become the dealer's room where you go to buy manga, buy older DVD, to find old deals on DVDs or that sort of thing. Some of that may be something that comes up at the swap meet later during the convention, but I've never really gone to that because I haven't necessarily had anything to either sell or been in a situation like, okay, I'm going to bring a wad of cash to buy stuff there. I mean, yeah, possibly there's a Cash App or that sort of thing I could use, but, and I have it on my phone, but it's not necessarily the same way. Like, okay, I'm going to just use this, or do that the same way. But otherwise that went, like, I enjoyed the convention. The panels I went to were excellent. Really an excellent panel I went to on sumo wrestling. I may check out the next, there's going to be a Basho this month, since it happens on odd numbered months. And I may like check out some of the highlights of that on YouTube this month and see how interesting it is. Otherwise, again, I had a very good time at the convention. Kumoricon has always been a fun con to go to. Not just because, it's the local con, but because in terms of when I hear people talking about conventions and that sort of thing, there's a sense elsewhere in the area, there's a sense that it's more removed from the rest of for in other cities from the area. So in terms of finding places to eat nearby and that sort of thing, Kumoricon being so close to downtown and so accessible to other areas by mass transit, either restaurants by bus or just taking the Max downtown, or what have you, there are options available for like good food near the convention center or a short trip from the convention center. It doesn't take that much work to get or time to get there. And dealer room, I like the fact it's a very artist alley heavy dealer room. I do miss being able to go in there and find older stuff. This is to a certain degree a problem that happened at Portland Retro Gaming Expo as well, where the stuff that people were bringing to PRGE, they weren't bringing deals. They weren't bringing like necessarily cheap stuff to dig through, except for like maybe like a small smattering of the EA sport games, and like just like the EA sports games. No option, like nobody's like going, oh, I want to bring in an assortment of cheap RPGs or like general, like kind of common, maybe a little trashy titles. I'm just trying to move for the people who are looking for something cheap, but potentially fun, cheap and common, but fun to add to their collection in that way. And for Kumoricon similarly as well, unless it's showing up in Artist Alley, or say in the swap meet, we're not seeing that much of people going, oh, I have these old DVDs that I've upgraded to Blu-ray, or I have these old manga that I finished reading it and I don't want to read it anymore. I picked up some volumes of this and I don't like it and I want to get rid of it. This doesn't feel like the place of where you'd have your used, like there was a market, there was a vendor from Canada. This is before the tariff stuff happened, where he'd bring a booth down to Kumoricon. First one was Vancouver, Washington, and then for a couple years at the Oregon Convention Center. Had this big booth set up. You had aisles you could wander through and pick DVDs or Blu-rays to shop from. I remembered like when I bought from them in the past, I eventually had to just do cash because his card reader was set up at the time, because he had an older card reader, was set up for being in Canada, and the bank thought that it was a bogus transaction. And now that's something where presumably if he'd upgraded to like, I don't know, Square or something like that, that would fix the problem. But in any case, he eventually just stopped showing up before the pandemic, like well before lockdown was a thing. And like him and a lot of other vendors just haven't really come back. There's a Kinokuniya booth selling like a small selection of manga. There's a few places that import art books, but otherwise the only people who are selling physical like manga things there are some booths that are selling imported doujinshi. So if you're looking for smut, you're looking for your yaoi, or what have you, you can get those. But if you're looking for, say, oh, I'm looking to hunt down old Tokyo Pop manga that's out of print. I'm looking for some old Viz manga that's out of print. I'm looking for picking up old issues of Raijin comics or that sort of thing. I'm looking for stuff that's out of print and I can't get anymore. Licensed expired anime on, or license expired for VHS or Laserdisc or whatever. It's not there. Like, on the old media front, I will say, for Portland Retro Gaming Expo, if you wanted Laserdiscs or VHS, they had those there. I didn't dig through them because I don't have a Laserdisc player. I don't have an active hooked up VCR. But like, if you wanted a Laserdisc, if you wanted a VCR, you could VHS of stuff, you could go there and get it. Nobody at Kumoricon was, again, inside of the swap meet, which I'll need to go to next year. Nobody there was selling, here's old Laserdiscs of anime, here's anime soundtracks on vinyl, here's floppy comic book issues of manga that either didn't get a collected edition or did, but that's out of print too, and the license expired. That sort of thing. Like, if there's anything I felt that was missing from Artist Alley, it's that. That said, that's a small criticism to have. I had fun. I met interesting people, had fun conversations, went to great panels. Again, if you go to conventions to shop, and you want an artist alley focused con for your dealer's room, or cosplay accessory focused con for your dealer's room, Kumoricon is for you. If you want fun panels and cosplay contests and dances and raves and that sort of thing, Kumoricon, also for you. I really like the cosplay scene we have here. There's lots of really great stuff. I wish I had taken more pictures. Part of the problem with me having overscheduled myself, outside of like trying to juggle going to con panels or meals off-site, is not giving myself enough time to wander around and do Hulk and check out all cosplay. I took some pictures and got of a few things, but I wish I had a chance to take more. Again, come to Kumoricon. It's great. There are good guests every year. It will be fun. It'd be fun last year, or fun this year. It was fun the year before. It should be fun next year. I've already ordered my my membership for the year to come. Hope to see you there.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe. And also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Tossing me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.